Committees, Mr. Arder.
Mr. Loudermilk, Ms. Alsop,
Here.
Ms. Wager,
Here.
Mr. Thacker,
Here.
Ms. Thies,
Here.
Mr. Norris,
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Okay, thank you. Communication from elected officials, other officials, or agencies of the county. You want to address any of that stuff now, Mark? Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mark Klinkenbeard, Vigo County Commissioner. Just a little housekeeping work. We are pulling request 2024-76 for this month, and we'll bring that next month. Tom Little's awaiting another estimate, so we're going to wait on that.
Okay.
And you know, Todd, you were at the meeting this morning, but we did award the jail demolition and the road construction this morning. Renaissance was awarded the demolition bid, $858,000. Road construction was awarded to Dennis Trucking. I had that amount. Here it is, $505,276. Just so you're aware, we are roughly $1 million under estimates on
Very
those
good.
two things. So
Yeah, that's good news.
What was,
Yes.
Mark, I'm sorry, what was the company that was awarded demolition?
Renaissance from Indianapolis. They were not only a low bidder, but they also met all requirements, including RBO.
Yeah, they, I guess they're a pretty well-known company that,
Yep.
in the demolition world, is what I understand.
Yeah, I think they'll
didn't
do
know
a good job.
And how much was Dennis Trucking under on the
Well,
road construction?
okay, so Dennis Trucking was not under. Dennis Trucking was not the low bid, but for the road, McGuire Excavating was, but they did not meet RBO standards.
Okay, but it was, but the bid was under what you put bid?
Total, those combined bids were $1 million less than what we had budgeted.
Wow, great.
So, doing well there. Just to update you, the tower is, the jail has not been powered down yet because IPSC was not able to get their fiber lines moved, and now they're saying November, which obviously puts construction or demolition behind a little bit. But Garmong will proceed with issuing contracts, decommission elevators, and perform abatements, et cetera. So they'll get started right away on those things. But actual demolition will be put off until we get the building powered down and everything moved into the new building under the tower.
Any questions, or thanks for the update.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other elected officials or agencies of the county like at this time? Okay, if not, reports from committees. And I think the number one committee we have focus on right now is budget. Vicki?
Well, believe it or not, we're kind of drawing the old wagons in a circle. We just about have a budget put together. We've had more than a couple dozen meetings of various kinds of meetings for the 2025 budget. The major consideration that is kind of a stumbling block for us is sadly the overcrowding of the jail, the new jail. And of course that's been open a couple years. Fortunately, Federal Judge Magnus Stinson has been sympathetic about helping us try to work out the overcrowding situation. The ACLU people as well, who filed the original lawsuit that brought the whole thing to a head, and they agree that Vigo County is working in the right direction to relieve that overcrowding situation. Judge agreed with our efforts here that trauma in a family is a major cause that generates mental health problems and causes numerous members of a family to wind up in jail, in in juvenile center and so forth, and that winds up overcrowding all kinds of facilities. She did praise our efforts here to pursue the legislative grant at the state level, and to expand a community corrections program. So we're very hopeful that that's going to relieve our burden at the jail, and if we can expand the community corrections, you know, that'll save our taxpayers millions of dollars in the long run. And so we're keeping our eye on that legislature and hoping it's going to bail us out. It's been a tedious process. Commendations to the auditor's office. I mean, Cheryl Loudermilk has been a genius with those numbers. I don't know how she's kept from going absolutely, she's borderline berserk. I'll just say that. I don't know how she does it. She is a genius. But also, you know, the commissioners, the judges, all the judges have sued us. They are not very happy with us. They don't think that we're treating them right, but we've done our best. Sheriff Fell is here this evening, and thank you so much for your cooperation with us. He needs 3 new deputies, and he's agreed to put his request over to the first of the year for the 3 deputies to give us a chance to see how we turn out on this grant application. We don't have a guarantee that we're going to get the funding, but former Senator John Ford is helping us, and our current state senator Greg Good is very helpful, and so we're looking at a pretty good prognosis. If we don't get the funding, we could be mandated to expand our jail and put another pod on there, and I guess we'll just start having bake sales and who knows what, but we're very hopeful that we won't have to take on that debt, which will really impair our future progress. That possibility, though, does hamper our efforts to spend money that we were hoping to be able to pay out in expanded raises for our staff people. So we have to be penny wise right now till we see what's going on. We are going to give a raise to our employees this year. We're just trying to figure out what we can afford, and so you know, we'll be calculating that, and I think we'll probably, you know, we should know something here before too long. We will continue to provide the health insurance that we provide for our employees and family insurance. It's really, really expensive. It's a big bite out of the budget, but we have to keep our county employees and their families healthy. That's a top priority for us. And in the following days, we'll just continue to work. Marie and David have been so great about giving of their personal time to sit and go over those numbers and look for places we can cut and find more ways that we can make ends meet. And our county employees have just been great to work on their budgets and continue to come up with ways that they can save money, and we're very grateful for that. I know that we definitely have the best county government in this whole state, and we're very appreciative. So that's what we got going. That's about it.
Question on the budget? If not, I think Marie has a little update. She's been involved with I'll let
Yeah,
her
I probably should have done it on public comment, but actually it ties in very well to what Councilwoman Waker just said. Last Thursday, I was able to be up at the State House with Magistrate Dan Kelly and Judge Chris Newton. All 3 of us testified. I actually found out I am serving on that committee as well. So I'll be going up there Thursday again. But I have to say just how incredibly proud I was. We were there with 5 other counties advocating for extra magistrates and support from the state. And the work that we do, our creative and kind of proactive process the support we have given to different departments that are working with our courts and with our jail. I feel like we just are incredibly strong and presented an excellent case. I am hopeful the state sees that. It was after hearing, there's other counties who have very similar needs to us, I think are in similar financial situations. Same have issues, social issues in their towns. And again, I was very proud of them when they testified, and I was able to say some really good things about our county, our efforts, and what the council, commissioners, and just all of us working as a team have been able to support. So I'm hopeful. I'll find out more, and hopefully, it goes to recommendation.
Again, if all of you aren't familiar, she's referencing
Oh, thank you.
the letter that we gave of endorsement to the courts to create another. We tried to do a juvenile magistrate, found out we couldn't do that, but we then changed it to a general magistrate. And so that's what they had to have, it'll have to be a hearing, they'll have to act on that before we can do that. Okay, any other questions or comments regarding committees? If not, we'll move on to resolutions and ordinances other than appropriation. And the first thing we have under that is the petition to appeal for the increase above the maximum levy Lost Creek Fire Protection District. And that's on our page 4, which they came to us and talked to us last month. And then, so now we have it on the agenda. We have a gentleman here to speak on that. If anybody has any questions for him, you want to come to the mic?
Mr. President, Council, John Hendricks, Cedarville Fire Department. Yeah, if you guys have any questions over it,
So
we have
this
an
is what he talked about, is they're wanting to expand the 3-year growth factor of $15,000 on the maximum levy for the TAC.
Yep, that is correct.
Okay? Anybody have any questions for him? If not, then we'll take action on it next week.
I did want to give you guys an update. We, at this point, we have, I believe, secured all the petitions necessary to bring Nevins Township into Lost Creek Fire District.
Okay.
So I'll be meeting with the auditor's office here soon to go through those and make sure. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one we have on there is resolution for reallocation of existing appropriation 2024-15 for the prosecutors. It's on our page 5. You saw that on our agenda. It is, we have
There he is.
we have someone from the prosecutor's office.
Ta-da.
Good afternoon, Rob Roberts, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. As you guys know, I came to you a couple months ago and talked to you about Adult Protective Services, and we've had some increased staffing in our office. Adult Protective Services has moved to a different office until we'll see what happens coming down the pipe for that. If you guys are interested, I can update you on that here in just a few minutes. As maintenance, which the maintenance department has been phenomenal. I bought them breakfast pizza last Friday just because they've been so good to us. But they have repainted some offices, they've been moving desks around. Unfortunately, what we found out in the process of some of those desks is they are now being secured up against the wall because they're falling apart. So we need the opportunity to replace some desks that have been here since before I joined the office in 2000. And so what we're just asking for is for enough for 2 or 3 desks to be transferred from our office supplies line item into office furniture line item, and because that's going from a 2 to a 4, we need the council's approval for that. So that's our request.
Any questions for Mr. Roberts? If not, we will take action on this next week.
All right. Do you have 30 seconds?
Absolutely.
So there have been a number of meetings taking place regarding adult protective services at the state level. FSSA has decided to put out an appeal for anyone that wants to submit an RFP to run that program. I did receive an email here recently. It looks like the prosecutors, at the very least, are going to submit an RFP once we find out all the details. That was just posted yesterday, so this is the latest information that I have, so that the prosecutors would continue to be involved in adult protective services. But obviously, with an RFP, anybody can submit that. We'll see if that goes to the lowest bidder or if it goes to the most qualified. That remains to be seen.
So will that be county by county, or will that be statewide that they do it? How does that work?
Well, again, anybody can submit an RFP, and it's whoever they accept, right?
Because,
So,
yeah, as you, I've talked to Terry about it, he said not everybody is in favor of keeping the Adult Protective Services.
Sure.
And some of you are.
yeah.
Is that
And so
fair?
that'll be part of the process, is making sure that there are enough regional area prosecutors that would then, for any hub that didn't want to continue to participate in that, that there would be another one that would be able to take their place. I'm only aware of 2, maybe 3 out of the 17 hubs that have kind of expressed that they don't think it's the appropriate job for the prosecutors to be doing. So it's a very small minority of the total.
Thank you. Questions?
I have to commend you on stepping up. I mean, it's a much needed position. It's a needy population. Some
And it's
people
growing.
at the most at risk. I mean, our aging population, but also people, with developmental issue. I've known several people that have worked in that office, and it's important. Some people are very vulnerable, and I appreciate you trying to keep it in qualified hands. So.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Rob, let me ask you one thing.
Sure.
Do you expect competition from anyone to try to take it?
Well, some of you guys may be familiar with the areas on agency, which are areas on aging,
Aging.
which are similar in their demographic throughout the state. There's been discussion of them maybe being the ones to take over the program. Now, again, they will have to submit their own RFP and decide if that's what they would like to request. Our concerns there are whether or not the same level of care and also, almost as importantly as the care that's provided, but the ability to work closely with law enforcement. Obviously, being a part of the prosecutor's office really assists our Adult Protective Services Division in working directly with law enforcement when there may be a criminal matter involved. And certainly just turning it over to a group that has no relationship with law enforcement, regardless of whether that's the area on aging groups or something else entirely different, some outside entity or business. I think that's a huge hurdle to overcome, but we're fighting for it.
Okay.
If I can, that brings up another issue. It's budget time right now, as you've heard, and
Yes.
heard the report on it. So have you guys, because you have to submit ahead of time, have you submitted for a budget for Adult Protective Services for next year under the prosecutor's office?
So, yes.
Just in case?
Well, because the agreement carries through June 31st of 2025. And so yes, we've submitted just the normal amount. Obviously, if that agreement ends on June 30th of 25, then that's where it ends. But yes, the budget has been submitted as if we're going to have it for the entire year.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that wraps up that. Next one is item 6 is ordinance relating to appropriations, first reading, salary ordinance amendment. The next one I have an order, a salary ordinance amendment 2024-72A, park stipend, and it's all the way on page 16 according to my calculations. Anybody from the parks to address it tonight? Cheryl, are you going to address that? Oh, okay. So just a little, okay. Okay, very good. Okay, July 1. Yeah. Okay, we'll address that then next week as well. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Additional appropriation 2024-75 lit correction rehab land acquisition on page 6 of our literature. And we have the commissioners here. Mr. Schweitzer.
Good evening, council. Just wanted to say real quick, Vicki, when we talked about the jail debacle, I briefly talked about Todd and Marie about this, but Allen County, Fort Wayne, 2020 lawsuit, federal judge They have not taken much action in the last 4 years. So Judge last week ordered them to spend the $25 million they have on hand to purchase their property, to clear that property, and start the process of increasing it, local tax rate, and gave them 6 to 8 weeks to do so. And if they didn't do so, she was going to do it for them. Beyond that, they're building a 1,500-bed jail at $330 million.
How many beds?
1,500. Currently, it's 732 beds, but their
But-
population fluctuates around 900.
I
So
wouldn't want to live in that county.
Yeah,
we
so-
all, and yes, Rob's telling us too. But we just want to make you, I mean, this is not a reality only in Vigo County, and I'm sure Michael
Yes.
can attest to it too. We're all facing these same issues, and we can all continue to build bigger jails, but it's
Oh.
not going to solve the root issue
No.
to the problems. So,
Yeah, True.
Marie, thank you for doing what you're doing for the additional magistrate as well. So last week we came to the council for permission to seek 2 appraisals. We did get those 2 appraisals, one from Nature's Trail Properties, which is Howard Junker Realty. That appraisal came in at $472,500. Our second appraisal came in from Sycamore Realty, Larry Bonnert. That appraisal was $230,000, and the average of those 2 is $351,250. As you all are aware, we cannot pay more than the average of 2 appraisals per statute, and our purchase price for this 22 acres is $220,000. So we're well below the average. I did include $5,000 in potential closing costs. I got 3 estimates on that. It was anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, and maybe some additional costs with our attorney. So whatever we don't use of that additional $5,000, we'll just go back to the lit local income tax 1233. So that's our request.
Any questions for Mr. Schweitzer?
And I can kind of give you an update of where we are with community corrections. Mark's been a big part of it with Mr. Bill Watson. We're relying on the JRAC board to kind of give the commissioners a recommendation on which design company they would want to go with. They have hired 2 design companies, RQAW and DLZ, and they're kind of reviewing that and going to give us a recommendation on who we should go with. The most important and significant thing is when we build this thing, we need to make sure how many potential additional staff we might need, if any, and that's kind of what we're focused on with whatever they go with. So I think we'll vet all those things before we do come to the council next year for a potential ask.
Do you have a ballpark idea on that additional staff?
No, I don't, Vicki. I mean, we've heard anywhere from 10 to 15 maybe, but we're trying to design it to where we won't need that many additional staff. But we've all been through this before, so.
Rob's praying behind you.
I attended the JRAC meeting last week, and also I was at a meeting just prior to this where Mr. Watson was in attendance. They are leaning towards the RQAW proposal, primarily, even though it is a larger facility space-wise. The design of the space would only necessitate, in their estimations at this point, and this is a lot of preliminary stuff, 6 additional correctional officers, whereas DLZs would require 16. So they are taking all of those factors into consideration as they're debating and, like I said, leaning towards, but nothing's 100% at this point.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, then we're skipping the next one because it was said to be the requested pull it at this time. So that gives us to item number 4, Salary Ordinance Amendment 2024-77, Sheriff's Department stipends. It's on our page 13.
Good evening, Sheriff Fell with the Vigo County Sheriff's Office. Can I just take a quick moment to touch on jail overcrowding, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You got the floor.
Okay. Obviously, I heard what was said earlier. From our perspective, I just wanted to make it known, make it clear that we are not looking, to expand the jail. That's not our first option. That's not our number one priority. Obviously, jail overcrowding remains an issue. That being said, we're supportive of community corrections expansion, the magistrate position, additional court, possibly, more prosecutors, that's what the prosecutor's office feels like, to help navigate through these cases and move them through the system quicker. Obviously, there's a whole host of issues, DOC, there's delays with DOC, things of that nature. Internally, I just want to make it, again, clear that here at the local level, myself and Chief Deputy Rob Roberts were just at a meeting before we came here, along with Chief Judge Mulliken, Director Watson with Community Corrections, along with, a few others within county government. With our new program, we've implemented the RISE program, Reinvestment Initiative to Support and Educate, which focuses on basically mental health, drug issues while people are incarcerated in the jail, to help prepare them to reenter society so they're not coming back to jail, to reduce that recidivism rate and jail overcrowding. It's still early. We just started this program this year. It was kind of in place of the IRAX program we were trying to bring in. So at the local level, we're not just sitting back and watching things. We're trying to progress forward and do what we can internally as well. So I just want to make that known. Reference my request. I've said to the council numerous times, this is actually a reduction in dollars, not a large reduction, but it's just a restructuring. So we just went through a round of promotions here recently. One of our first sergeants, rank is sergeant, first sergeant lieutenant. It has been our intentions for about 6 years now to lose our first sergeant positions through attrition. We didn't want to, again, as I mentioned numerous times, we don't want to reduce the number of supervisors, just restructure. So one of those individuals was promoted to lieutenant. It leaves that spot vacant. We want to turn that first sergeant position into a sergeant's position, which is a $1,500 reduction. So I'm not asking for an increase, an actual reduction. It's just a restructuring of the supervisor structure.
Any questions for Sheriff Allen? Hey, I appreciate you mentioning that about the overcrowding. That's been, since I've been on, that's been an issue that we've been dealing with, and then what's the best way to move forward. And I think that Councilperson Wager's comments about what we're doing with the judge is very appropriate. It's on our focus all the time, what we're doing and how we're going to move forward.
Right.
But we are making at least good headway in theory on it, so now we just got to put it to work. Any other questions?
I just have one, just so I can clarify, because I
Yes.
just got the most recent report on our jail numbers. But I'd like to know, because I think this is something other counties are dealing with, which is why I'm working with the court study committee. How many are currently sitting in our jail that are waiting to go to Indiana Corrections? I was thinking it was 39.
I was going to, I don't know exactly, was it 41?
31,
I think
I
was the last number, it was 31 last week.
31.
Yeah, it fluctuates, obviously, it fluctuates daily, if not weekly.
Okay.
Go ahead.
During the meeting today, Mrs. Evans said that the numbers that they had run for this week was 41.
Okay.
41.
I'll just run with that, because I want to make sure to get that information to
I can
them
confirm
from-
that for you, get you an exact number,
Yeah,
but
if you
I'm
could
pretty sure it's
before
41.
Thursday morning. And I'm going to get that from the other 5 counties too that are kind of having issues, so.
And I think it's fair to say is the way the statute is we don't get paid for housing them until the 6th day. Is that correct? That they're
Yes,
waiting?
that's correct.
So they get a 5-day free
Vacation.
pass, the state does, not having to pay for us housing people that need to be going to the DOC.
Correct. And the issue is, DOC's overcrowded as well.
Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah,
been
so this is
mentioned,
their
we're one of many
pushback.
counties, yeah.
So when I got brought up to the judge's attention, her federal judge, her resolve was to talk to our legislators.
Good luck.
Thank you.
But that's the responsibility.
If I could add 15 seconds
Yeah.
onto that. So, one of the other things that's currently taking place is, as Ms. Thies mentioned, that this is a statewide problem. The Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council has requested all 92 counties to provide that data, a snapshot of September 30th of 2024, how many people are being housed in the local jails awaiting transport because they've been sentenced to the Department of Corrections. So, that's another aspect of data that's being accumulated.
Who was asking for that?
IPAC, the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council, and so I sent that over to the jail, and they told me they've already got it done, so.
When you think about this, that if we've been averaging around 40 out of county, and then about 40 is what we have waiting to go to DOC, it seems like we're pretty close. I mean, it still doesn't mean that we don't need to do something with the growth of the community corrections. Yes. Anybody else?
Yes. Good.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, at this point in the meeting, we would entertain public comment, if anybody has any public comment.
I have something here I'd like to put in the records if it's all right.
Okay.
Sure.
If you would too, please state your name.
Oh, she's going to.
Yeah.
Flo Evinger. This is just a comment I have to make here.
Okay.
This is just to clarify a statement that you, Mr. Thacker, made at the county council forum held at the Vigo County Library a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
You mentioned that there was 18,000 wells in Indiana,
Injection wells,
and I want to know where you got that information.
just common knowledge.
Okay. That may be true, but there are 6 different types of injection wells,
Absolutely.
which I'm sure if you talk to WVR, they don't mention. They want everybody to think that all the injection wells are the same. There are only 4 6-class wells permits for sequestration of carbon. 2 of the Class 6 wells are in Decatur, Illinois. Company ADM had to recently shut down because of corrosion in the pipelines that's not even 10 years old and the leakage of CO2. The leak was detected in March of 2024, but ADM knew about the corrosion in the pipeline since October of 2023. Not only leakage of CO2, but they violated the Safe Drinking Water Act in Illinois per the EPA, and liquid carbon dioxide into unauthorized areas, zones, according to the US EPA. Never during any of this time of leakage or knowledge of corrosion was the community notified. When we asked WVR out here about said unauthorized area of storage, response was, it doesn't work that way and it will not happen. Guess what? It does happen, and yes, it works that way. WVR has acquired two of the Class 6 permit wells for injection. With the tax abatements you all voted for, this is exactly what the residents of Vigo County had to look forward to. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I would like to rebut on that is, you would say that my statement was correct. There are 18,000
Yes.
injection wells stated.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know or not, but I worked in the oil field before I became electrician, so I do have some experience with injection wells, and there are a lot of injection wells.
Yeah, sure.
Not meaning that they're all the same as what WRB are. Right?
Yes,
I think
yes.
that clarification is well suited. So
Yes,
thank you
that's-
thank you for your comments.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments, public comment at this time? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made, second, motion by Councilperson Wenger,
Wenger.
second by Councilperson also. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you.